if you are willing to do anything for ridiculously long hours, we'll let you stay alive. And that's kind of what is happening in America, where the Mexicans and the Central Americans, immigrants from south of the border, let's say, are taking, it's like they're filling the menial jobs, and as a result they're making money, and as a result they're able to buy houses, and that's the kind of population that our government wants. Someone who will do anything that they're told to do for the proper money, and it doesn't have to be much money, because as you see, the standards of the United States are being lowered financially. This is going to enable the immigrants, both South American and Chinese, we were talking about that, to come into this country with more ease. And you know, World War III might not be a shooting war, it might just be a war of financial attrition, because China owns so much real estate in the West now, they can kind of repopulate the United States almost right in front of our noses in a gradual manner, which is not going to excite any kind of major opposition until it's too late, and they have the political clout necessary to just take over the United States peacefully, because they already own it.
About 8 years ago, there was a story, and it only appeared in the Yuma paper, and the Free American. Only places it appeared was a Border Patrol agent was killed down over the Rio Grande, and the ones that killed him were Chinese. The Chinese are coming in wholesale from Canada, and if you go to San Jose, San Francisco, every other car is a Mercedes with a Chinaman in it, with a Chinese. In LA, they've got whole neighborhoods where all the signs are Vietnamese.
Mm-hmm.
But this is the balkanization of America. They're splitting us up into all of these different ethnic groups. That's balkanization, and that's what's happening with the illegals. I mean, they're setting us up. I think they're setting us up for a race war starting next month. This next month, because that's when this movie Machete comes out.
Right, that's a good call. That's definitely a good call.
And they're already responsible. The illegal aliens here are responsible for the murder of 60,000 Americans. And Arizona's trying to do something about that and allowing police officers to get rid of these people. And the government itself, the federal government, is suing us. Obama's taking the case of Arizona to the UN.
I think that's just one aspect of the larger picture, which I would categorize under my own term of the Jewish destabilization template. But the story also reminds me of the famous conversation in 1849, I think it was, or 1857, between James and Lionel Rothschild and then British Prime Minister Benjamin Disraeli. They were at a wedding in London, and they were discussing how the United States would be split up. James would get the north half and Lionel would get the south half, and they would work to create the situation, and they did create it in the American Civil War, simply by their time-tested formula of money and media. If you bribe the right people, get your right agents in the right place, like, for example, where Rahm Emanuel has gotten, is like the right place for a person steering the United States toward its doom in favor of Israel's continuing mastery over everybody. I've lost myself here, Clayton. Anyway, that story reminded me of the Rothschild plan to split up the United States. They're always doing something to create a wedge and exploit the misery that it causes. And we see that happening on almost everything we talk about. That's why I tell people, and I've written, that when considering any problem in the world, any sociological or political problem, the first thing you do automatically is look for the Jewish angle, because that saves you a lot of time in tracking down all these fictions that are invented by people like Alex Jones about the Illuminati and the
Arabs own Hollywood. Yes.
Right, the Arabs own Hollywood. Right. All these distracting things that the very same people who are committing the crimes are also putting out the news, and that's the news that we're getting on television. They're not telling you what's happening about anything, and we're still trying to learn about what the oil spill is really about. We haven't talked about that. I come back right into the middle of that, and I see a widespread unconsciousness about what is happening, a willing unconsciousness. It's just like people shut out the bad news from the world. They don't want to hear about the war in Afghanistan or the war in Iraq or the persecution of the Palestinians or food poisoning or air poisoning, any of that. They just want to have their beer and go watch Dancing with the Stars. And
well, that's the programming. That's the television. I mean, you get, I mean, for years, I lived in Miami. I spent a lot of time out on the boat, out fishing, out in the Gulf Stream. But I read the Miami Herald and I watched the Today Show, and I thought I was informed. I thought I was educated. I didn't realize at the time that everything they were telling me was wrong, and have been. I mean, I volunteered for Vietnam in 1964 to go fight the communists, and I found out that every plank on the Communist Manifesto was intact in America today.
That's right. What do you think about Pat Tillman?
I think I think he realized what was going on. He realized we were over there to protect the opium poppy fields, that that Bin Laden didn't exist, and he was going to go public about it, and they killed him.
That sounds about right. But that's just one of many parables about what America has become. The thing that so many things have thrown me over the edge, obviously, but if anybody knows anything I've written. But the whole torture thing at Guantanamo was like, that's where we like really crossed the line as a culture from a freedom-loving American culture to a lackey dog that will do anything for you master Israeli culture. Because that's what the Israelis do. They treat people like they aren't human. And in fact, that's what they believe.
Saddam Hussein cut off the oil to Israel, and the first thing that we did when we invaded was reinstall that pipeline that runs to Israel.
Right. Well, that's who runs the country, and that's what, in my stories that I've written about Eustace Mullins, I think it's so important for people to understand that the Jewish takeover of what turned out to be white societies, because the whites had the power and they went after the power, began in 1645 when Cromwell took over England and the Dutch Jews sponsored him, and he wound up killing the king and devastating Ireland. And then that spread to France, and then that spread to Russia, and then it spread to Germany. It was in Germany first, probably, since that's where the banks are. That's in lapsing back to my piece called The J Word here. The center of Jewish power has been Frankfurt, Germany, that's where the international bankers put their muscle. And of course there's the Dutch banks and banks in other countries that they also control.
Where did Rothschild come